We have Brian Witmer joining us from across the pond in Prague, Czech Republic. Just want to throw a quick thank you out to our sponsors that are helping to make this whole thing happen. Apex Lacrosse Events, Manitoba Lacrosse, Sticks and Picks Podcast, Bear Paw Lacrosse Events, Uncommon Fit, Major Series Lacrosse, and the PAR team. And we're very pleased to have Brian Witmer in today talking about overcoming obstacles. And I've had the pleasure of being at various tournaments with Brian, calling games with him, and just kind of hanging out. We actually had you guys over at the house last year, and it's a pleasure to have you on. We have to have you to the new place because we've moved.
That was the U19 Women's World Championship.
That's right. Right. And during the World Lacrosse gathering, what was it called? I forget
World Lacrosse. That is
annual National General Assembly.
General Assembly. That's correct.
There you go. So Brian is a great resource, does an absolute ton of work in the game, and we're pleased to have him on. Brian, welcome to Global Lacrosse Summit.
Thanks for having me. And just to build on what you said here, so the purpose of today's talk is kind of, it's not coaching is, there's a lot of different levels of coaching, and it is nice to have 40 elite athletes and, all the facilities and resources possible. Coaching over in Europe, I coached over in Australia for a while, just all over the world, and things don't always go right. And we'll kind of get into how to coach through and coach around those obstacles.
Yeah, there are always challenges, and you've got a presentation to share with us, so I'll be on the side just watching for questions. So if you have any questions, folks, feel free to jump in, type them in the Q&A section, and I will intersperse them into the presentation at opportune moments, if that's cool with you.
All right, so we're gonna take two with share screen. Here we go. All right, look at that, and here we go. Awesome. So creative coaching solutions, that's tools, ideas, and suggestions for when life, you can't see the word over there, life decides your practice plan is no longer valid, right? Everyone's got a practice plan. That's, coaching 101. Things don't always go according to plan. A little bit about myself. I'm Brian. I'm the head coach of the Czech men's national team for field lacrosse. I'm an assistant coach with Zbraslav. It's a local club here, and just 15, 13-year-olds. I should edit that. We do have our first under-11 game ever for Zbraslav coming up tomorrow. And I am coaching with Sokol Smikov. I am there's a woman in charge of the program. I am the head coach and the driver behind a new boys program. And we have about nine or 10 kids who are about 8, 9 years old. And I also do development clinics all over Europe, usually men's 18 plus, age group. And I just kind of put this in here, not just to say how great I am, but how diverse that coaching group is, right? You got the pinnacle, Czech men's national team, and you've got 9-year-old boys who you can't probably. So it's a little bit of everything, and you got to be able to find toes. So it's a little bit more about that. A practice 30 to 40 men, 90 to 120 minutes at the peak of their game, right? Even the older guys, they're ready to go. And then it just goes on all the way down there. And then developmental clinics. Yeah, 50 women one time was a little much. And I know Brad and I were planning on running the She Box event this year, and we were planning on 100 women on box floor. And that planned for it. And then virus stepped in. So,
I think that was Brian's internet that has just kicked him out, judging by the way his audio went. If you could please bear with us. Sorry, Stamper, to jump in. I knew that was coming.
No, I was going to say basically the same thing. You can hear it starting. I was actually just about to text you, Brad, and there we go. Brian, we just have to unmute you again.
You have me here? All good?
We've got you. We're raring to go. Nice job. You sound better, too.
All right. Sorry about that. All right. So where are we? Yeah. So frequent challenges. Plan for 20 guys. We have 7. You know, how many times does that happen, right? The lights got shut off in the middle of practice. That has happened more than once. No goalie, you know, or we have 1 goalie. There's a soccer team taking part of the field. You know, these are all things we all have seen. The goals are chained up. No key. I forgot the balls. 1 to 2. This one is one of the ones I would love to focus on. We have 1 to 2 high-level players and 10 plus beginners, or vice versa. You know, we have 1 to 2 beginners and the rest of the players are higher level. Coronavirus restrictions, you know, your country is going to be different than mine, you know, and it's all, we can work around that stuff, right? So the big 3 I identified, planning for a larger number of players and only a smaller number of showing up. Obviously the opposite is possible. It's just very less common, you know, planning for 10 guys and having 50 show up. That probably doesn't happen very often. Having very few or even 0 balls. Someone forgets the ball bag. You know, it's that time of the year in the season where you've lost all the balls and there's not more coming for another month. You have to be able to plan to practice effectively with what you have, especially if you're on this side of the pond and it's not like you can just go to Walmart or Dick's and get more lacrosse balls, or Canadian Tire for you, those of you north of the border. This one down here is still, like, again, we'll focus on this later. Wide disparity in player ability. We need to make sure that if we have a bunch of beginners and 2 advanced players, we're still challenging those advanced players, not just focusing on, you know, our lower talent beginners. We also need to, if we have higher level players, we can't just let the beginners, you know, do whatever they want on the side. We have to make sure everyone is getting better at every practice. Okay, so 3-on-2s are very popular. The West Jenny style drill. Again, if you don't have, I would say you probably need 12 guys, 2 goals, 2 goalies, a bunch of balls to run that drill. So something. Yeah, here we go. That's a little more of an explanation. Maryland 32 is the drill I took from my college playing days. It requires a lot less players. I did make a small video on it. I don't know. Okay, so this one's called a 32 to 40. How do you make it bigger? I don't really have a specific name for it. Anyway, I will draw it on this board. How about that? How do I make myself bigger, Steven?
I don't think you can be bigger while you're screen sharing. Is the thing. So maybe stop screen sharing for a moment, and then we'll be quiet, and you just talk, and it'll come to you on the big screen.
Okay. Let's go. I don't know how to unscreen share. It's really frustrating with that. Just the name I gave. Huh, science. Okay. Or I can just move that to the bottom. That doesn't really help, does it? Okay, so I will just do that right here. Okay, so the Maryland 32 drill. All right, we have our goal. Doing this all backwards, all right? So bear with me here. We're going to have 2 defenders in, right? Okay, the ball will start with the goaltender, right? That's 1 touch. He will pass, defenders break out, a nice pass to the side, and a pass, you know, a clearing pass over to the other defender, right? So the goalie's touched it. Both defenders have now touched it. You're going to have, let's see, 3 lines of midfield or offensive players up top, okay? So now the ball's happened here, a big pass over, okay? Those defensive players must come back in to play defense, and now we play 3 against 2. Okay, this requires 1 goal, 1 goalie, 2 defensive players, and 3 offensive players. That's 6 total players. That's obviously a smaller set, right? Let's say this midfielder shoots and misses. He will be out. These other 2 midfielders become the new defensive players. Those defensive players come to the top. Everybody plays offense. Everybody plays defense. I do have that video linked in my presentation here.
And we'll
So
send out an email that Chris Stevenson has actually just shared. There's a link to that drill on YouTube. So we can send that out in an email to the all the attendees for afterwards.
Yeah, we can. That's no problem. Okay. What's going on here? Okay, so why won't this? This is really confusing. Okay, so again, and I've got my video down here. If you want to type in 32 to 43, so that's a different one.
The link is in the chat as well.
I can find this on YouTube.
Yeah, the link is also in the chat. The link is also in the chat of this presentation, so everybody can see it. Just go into the chat, just click on the chat at the bottom, and open it up, and it's the link to the YouTube is there.
Okay, perfect, great. So additional to that Maryland 32, you can add an attack element from behind. In the 32 to 43 drill, again, you need 6 or 7 players, and I'll get my whiteboard back here. Again, like the link is in there. These drills are, you're gonna watch that video more than once. These are just 2 drills in which you can play offense and defense, get that same transition, that fast break style offense. We have more guys than they do. How do we move the ball? How do we create offense? And these are drills you can use with 7, 8 players. Additionally, if you do have more players, it's nice, instead of doing, just a 3-on-2 both ways, doing this drill at both ends still gets more people touches than your traditional. Well, the traditional West Jenny 3v2 continuous does get a lot of touches. This just creates different looks. Obviously, if you're trying to spice up your practice plans, you're not, the default is just going, hey, West Jenny. And guys love it. I love it. But these are additional drills that you can use with your practice planning. No balls, a way to be productive. If you've got a soccer ball, basketball, right? I forget where I first saw it. When I was coaching in Italy, we did it with our team. We would practice. We couldn't throw and catch. We would just throw the ball out into the bleachers every time. And so what we did was we said, all right, you guys can't pass and catch with a lacrosse ball. Let's pass and catch with a soccer ball. They were fantastic. Pass the soccer ball around. They were fantastic at that. But we ran our offense, with a different ball. This took the whole lacrosse side of things out of the game, right? We were able to focus on the game, not just the skill of passing and catching, which we were unable to do, right? So, emphasis on V cuts, moving in, making that passage shorter, right? It's if you can make a pass that's 5 yards, 5 meters, whatever, away, make a pass that's 5 meters, right? If you're playing field lacrosse and you're trying to make a 30-yard pass, 30 meter, whatever meters are, if you're trying to make that pass and you can't connect, it's time to make that shorter. And, by you throwing a football or throwing a soccer ball, you're going to obviously find that making a shorter pass makes it easier. That does translate into using a lacrosse stick as well. Stick protection pinata. I've only done this once, but it was probably one of the more fun things we've done. We had, I don't know how old kids are, but I would estimate they're 10, 12 years old. And we had a pinata, and we kind of, jimmied it to a stick so that the pinata head would be where the lacrosse stick head was. And, one person got to kind of swing at our other player, and they're trying to, smash the pinata. And obviously the guy protecting the pinata wanted to be the guy to smash the pinata. So he's trying to protect it, right? So it's going to from, protecting the stick to now you get to be the guy trying to smash it. It ended with a lot of smiles. It was a really fun way to do things. Obviously, if you have unlimited resources, get a bunch of pinatas. I don't remember whose idea that was, where we came up with. But these are, just things you can do without balls. If you don't have balls, chances are you don't have pinatas, but you never know. coaching backpack. I could really flex and, pull out my backpack and show you what I've got exactly in it, because I do have these things in there, but I always have a ball, one lacrosse ball, one tennis ball, and a whistle in there. I have 3 different backpacks I use for 3 different things. And all of them have a whistle, a lacrosse ball, and a tennis ball. That's 100% true. If we run out of lacrosse balls, someone forgets the balls, I have one, right? If you lose that, we might be running, or we might be, doing something else, right? But I have that one lacrosse ball, and if we lose the lacrosse ball, we can play 3-by. We can play some, non-contact tennis ball lacrosse game. And a whistle is just probably a good thing to always have. If you have a car, put one lacrosse ball in your glove box. Put one whistle, a tennis ball in your glove box. It's just a good thing to have. It's just hey, we forgot the ball bag. Especially, I'm coaching a lot of these practices where people are meeting places. It's not like an after-school thing where we have a nice locker room. We keep the balls there all the time. Someone has to bring the ball bag, and someone will forget it, or they will be late. It's nice to have your resources. Talent disparity. This is the big one, right? Whether it's 5-7-year-olds or 40 guys who are 25 years and older, there's always going to be stronger versus weaker players, and experience versus the new kids. You gotta still be able to give everyone what they came to practice for. The challenge, kind of repeating myself here, but the challenge is to get our lesser experienced players better, more comfortable. At the same time, we need to get our advanced players to always keep getting better, right? We don't need to limit them with what we have at practice. The half line drill. All right, so this one, it's more, I gear it more towards my younger players. However, you could definitely do it with adults, as kind of listed below here. So what I had photos in here. There we go. All right, youth / inexperienced players. Everyone has a ball, right? So we got over here, right? Everyone has a ball. Half line drill. They kind of just would throw it in. How do I move that? Come on, right? Everyone, let's say it's right-handed, right? Throw the ball to coach. Coach can either throw it back. My real little kids, I just roll it back, and then they have to do a little dodge around me. Make one stick check. Sometimes they go to the goal. Sometimes they just have to run back to the line. Lots of different things you can do with that, right? With adult competitive, players, it's the same concept, right? Everyone has a ball. Each player takes a turn being the coach from the youth variation. So, pass, catch, go. You're the next defensive player. You're trying to strip your teammate. You're the other guys in the line. You can make it competitive. Most takeaways wins, right? If you never drop the ball, you win. It's just a small way of getting. It's a 3-second rep, not even. And it's a way you can introduce your lesser experienced players to your more experienced players. It also gives, it's an isolated time where your lesser experienced players might be able to maybe figure out why they're not able to take the ball away from an experienced player, right? If experienced players are always taking the ball from you, you're not getting bruised around in a 4-minute drill. You're going right back to the end of the line, and you can kind of think about it, and you're going to be doing another rep in less than a minute. Give and go line drill, same concept. Just move the coach off to the side. You pass it to me. I pass it back to you. You shoot the score. With my U15s, my more advanced players, right? I'm intentionally giving them hard to handle. This is more of a box type drill, right? I'm not throwing it right back at them on a line. I'm throwing bouncers. I'm throwing high fly balls. We have to, attack them. I'm rolling the ball away from them. They have to, reach out and grab it. It's another way of kind of getting them comfortable with, the pass isn't always going to be right here, right? It could be, you have to catch across your body. You have to catch something over your shoulder. These give and go line drills are just it's pretty simple, but it's something that I've had a lot of success with, and you can see kind of the light bulb turn on, like in a game, like, oh, I've done this before. I know how to handle a weird bouncing ball. I know how to snap catch over it.
Right. You throw them passes right at the hip. I get a lot of passes around the hip.
Yeah, throw them right at the hip, throw them at their heads, I like to throw them off the boards and kind of put some strange spins on them. Anything to make it more difficult. If you can handle the hard pass, you can probably handle the easy one, right?
Yeah. We do have a question in the Q&A. Jason Woolley wondering, going back to your Oswego and or Brockport days, have you taken and implemented any ideas or organizational practices from there? And if so, how's the success rate been?
Say it one more time. Have I done anything organizationally?
Did you take and implement any ideas or organizational practices from Oswego and or Brockport?
Organizational. I grew up without practice plans. Practice was planned based on who showed up, and I still do that to this day. I very rarely write out a practice plan. However, on the flip side of that, in practice, when I got to, in college, when I got to being there was a practice plan nailed to the board, and I'm like, wow, that's cool. So, I go with the Oswego method of not really having a practice plan. I like to see who shows up, but that's I guess that's unique to being over in Europe. If you're coaching at a high level Division I program, who's going to show up every single day. And I get a day off of each team here, so I can kind of think about, man, what do we need here? Structurally, actually, there's a couple plays I still use that are extremely basic from my Oswego high school days, and I will give you the magic right now. Viper and Vapor, right? Let's see how I can best do this. Let's see, what are you looking at here? All right, so we have our goal. Let's turn our goal around. Dyslexia, all right. Okay, we have our goal. We have our offensive players here. We're gonna be in a 2-3-1, right? So this is just an attackman, a midfielder, a midfielder, a midfielder, an attackman, and there will be an attackman behind, right? It's supposed to be a little flatter, right? You have your triangles. However, right, ball is up high. Can you see this guy here? Yes, you can. Yeah. Right, we're gonna pass over and pass down to our attackman, right? We're gonna come set one pick, right? This guy's gonna kind of clear through, and this guy's coming over the top of both picks, right? So this is, he's just gonna catch, pass, bang, goal easy, right? If it's not there, this guy's curling high, right? He could have a nice catch and shot here. This guy's kind of coming off that, he's setting the pick and coming back up here, kind of balancing us out. That is Viper, right? If you run it to the left, so the ball starting over here, it would be called Vapor. Those are probably the only two things I've kept from Oswego. The Maryland 31 drill, I learned that one at Brockport. That's a college pickup. So to answer your question, ground ball drills, more balls, more bodies. I found that if just the typical you versus you roll a ball out, it's great. However, if you have a 14-year-old, a 14-year-old, and a 10-year-old, if you have a 14 and a 10-year-old, though that's not an easy match, right? So what I've done is I've added another player, right? A 14 and a 14 and a 10, and I roll out two balls. The 14-year-old, the two 14-year-olds can kind of go at it. The 10-year-old can be in the same traffic, but there's another ball, there's another opportunity for him to pick up a ball. Add a player, add a ball, right? Exactly what I just said. Weird. And you can kind of build this up, right? I like to do, usually my U9 practices, I have 7 kids. I'll send all 7 and roll out 6 balls. If you were the one who didn't get a ball, you're out. and go down to 6 kids, and 5, 4, 3, 2, and eventually you have a champion. So everyone loves to be the winner. But this is giving an opportunity to, and this is where you get to mix it up. The higher competition kids kind of find each other on the field, and they're trying to take the ball from each other, and the less experienced kids, that from a confidence standpoint, even if they're not getting so much better just from picking up, they are a little stressed because they know that all these dominant players are out there. And from a confidence standpoint, now they have a ball. They did it. They succeeded, right? Especially at a younger age. They're not thinking, everything through, like, oh, did I have the easy matchup? No, I got a ball and I was going up against the hard kids. So this is just something I love doing with youth kids.
How many would you go to? What's the max number you might roll out there in terms of players and balls?
I did it with 10 last week, and it got a little stressful. But depends on how much space you have. At the club I was working at, when I said I did 10, we had a huge field, and I was kind of just dumping out the ball bag and hungry hippos. But there's only one ball for most of everybody. And I've also done it 2 players, 3 balls as it says down here. Add 1 more ball than player. You and I both have to go get a ball, right? I pick up my ball, you have to get your ball, but then it's a race back, and then you have to go get another ball. You can only get 1 ball at a time. Once again, hungry hippos concept. But now even if I'm a weaker player against you, Steven, a more experienced player, I still got 1 ball, right? I still got 1 repetition, and I'm still under pressure, under time pressure to get 1 ball. So I'm still doing my job, even if I lose that contest to a older, stronger, taller, more handsome Steven Stamp, right? I still got 1 ball. I still got 1 repetition. So
you forgot quicker, because I'm like lightning on the field.
Oh, I'm still quicker than you.
I know.
Small-sided games, and I think this is my last slide here. I am in love with 3x, Chumash, backyard. There's a million names for this, right? We just called it playing in the backyard. Maybe by a different rule set, but it's 2020 and everybody's made rules for everything. Okay, 3x. I've been calling it social lacrosse, kind of with the times. This is something that back when we were kind of opening up in the Czech Republic, our rules, they didn't want contact, and it's but you can still play. I was like, how does that work, right? So 3-on-2 non-contact lacrosse, it's 3x, if anybody's familiar with it, right? It's 3-on-3, but 1 guy has to play in the goal, so it's really 3-on-2, and then that 1 guy's playing goal. This is why I carry a tennis ball, is for this specific game, right? When I show up to practice and there's 5 kids screwing around, not doing anything, right? I'll throw the tennis ball out, I'll jump in, we got a 3-on-3 game with just 6 kids, right? This is something I strongly believe in. You can have a 5-year-old girl and a 60-year-old man playing in the same game, right? It's a great way to bring up younger players, less experienced players, and have fun while you're doing it. This is probably over here coaching in a developing nation theater. You need to know all these things. You need to know how to play small-sided games, because you're probably not going to be able to do. When I was coaching in Italy for a year there, we had 10-on-10 practice once, and that was because I jumped in. You don't get that, right? We had 10-on-10 scrimmage once in however long that was, and because I jumped in. 3-on-3, you can do it 2 ends if you have 2 goals. You can do it with a trash can. You can do it with literally whatever you want. I know when I was coaching in Israel, we lined a field with trash and used a turned over, those soccer, the backstop, a soccer bleacher, more or less, the thing that covers the player sitting on the sideline. We used one of those for a goal. That was not the most organized game, that particular instant, but the goals had been locked up. Did someone have bolt cutters? No, the goals were locked up. You gotta be able to adapt. There's another one here. It just kind of goes on to saying the the rotation. If you have just 6 kids, you're playing on one side. If you have 12 kids, you could play 3-on-3 on 2 ends, right? And the losers go down, the winners go up, the winners stay, right? So you have your losers down here, your winners up here. If you have, 4 courts, you can have a king's court, queen, jack, the new kids court. So the losers keep moving down and the winners keep moving up. This is a great way to do this. I've actually really wanted to introduce this as a adult program, a non-contact version of the sport in the Czech Republic. I haven't had time. Coronavirus came up. I'd love to introduce this as a social, have a beer and come play. And, if you really want the contact version of the game, now you've already tried this thing. You know what lacrosse is. You know how to hold a stick and throw a pass. You're not totally freaked out when you show up for your first game of box or field lacrosse. That's the end of my presentation there. Went a little faster than expected, but this is kind of I kind of wanted this to be more of a question and answer type situation. Tell me, let's talk through the questions that you've had, things that have come up in your practices and how you were constructive and figured them out.
Yeah, anyone who's got questions, go ahead and shoot them in. And there is one issue that I know we wanted to address, which is dealing with language barriers. You've been in plenty of countries where you don't speak the language. And how do you address that? That's simple, right?
All right. So, you need to be able to coach pretty much without using language. You can still use your voice, right? You can still be encouraging or discouraging, like, no. Not like that, and when it was in Hebrew, I learned this. And in Czech, I learned this. And in Italian, I learned this. I don't know what all those words are now, but at the time I did know those words. So I could say, no, not this, like this. Yeah, this is how you throw the ball. You need to be able to, and I actually taught in Israel, there was like a 7-year-old boy. I taught him how to throw. He's extremely talented. But he learned how to throw behind the back, and we did not say I could not understand anything he said. He could understand not a word of what I said. You need to be able to draw your diagrams. I found that literally demonstrating every single drill, especially for my 9-year-olds, I explain it, and there's usually one kid who kind of I don't know what the word is, but he's like, I get it. And he tells all of his friends, like, this is what I think he understands. And from a language standpoint, there are kids who understand a little tiny bit more of English here, and they've started to understand my limited language abilities in their language. And so their minds are already geared towards trying to understand what I'm saying. Instead of listening to what I'm saying, they're trying to guess what I want and why I would want that, right? So actually, I think it's kind of good for them. I bill it as, hey, free English lessons with your lacrosse lessons. But their minds are thinking forward. Hey, what's this drill? And then I hope that in their minds they're thinking, why are we doing this drill? Or what benefit is that drill getting? But they are 9, and I might be asking too much.
And there are times, right, when obviously sometimes you can have a translator, and sometimes translating is great, but there's a time element in that, whereas if you want to keep a practice moving, sometimes you'd almost just eschew translation, I would imagine, and just go with the kind of communication you're talking about to keep things ticking along.
Correct. And, once you do the same drill 2 or 3 times, and you can kind of give it a name, right? You just, hey, I want to play 3-by. They don't know what 3-by is. I'm not sure they even recognize the number 3 in there. But I'm saying, hey, I want to play 3-by, and I roll out a tennis ball. They're like, oh, I know what this is, and then we go. And the Czech national team, hey, Maryland 32. All they hear is Maryland. I'm pretty sure the number 32 has, they're not making a connection. It's 3 versus 2, right? But Maryland, oh, yep. We remember this from last practice. Let's do it. Game on. So while you don't need to explain everything every time, it's if you kind of find a couple drills that you like, and then you can kind of tweak them. Hey, we're having a rough time with breakouts today, or hey, we're having a rough time dodging today. You can kind of tune those to being, geared to what you want. But I try to stick to a lot of similar concepts and then just build it. If you're going to deal with the headache of language, deal with it as little as possible. If you can't verbally communicate with someone, sometimes you have to just make things simpler.
We have another question from Jason Woolley. He's asking, in 10 by 10 or 10 against 10, what are the aspects of the game that your team is most efficient in or having trouble learning? What are the hardest aspects of the game for the teams you work with to pick up?
So I'll speak to the Czech national team, to that. I'll wear that hat right now. That is currently the only 10v10 program I'm working with. And we have our U19 national team and our men's senior team practicing together. It makes for a lot more bodies of practice. It's a really competitive environment. Stick skills are we have a lot of stick skills. These are traditionally box lacrosse players. The spacing of field lacrosse, the offensive structures, it's a little confusing. There's so much space and they don't know what to do with it. And so we're kind of before Corona, we haven't had our men's national team back out to a practice since the restrictions have been lifted. But we're trying to just find our shape, teaching the offense and teaching how to create space and how to use it in 10v10. And I find this to be a constant. It's not just the Czech Republic. It's in America too, right? I have a very talented lefty, right? And he has the ball. He doesn't know how to get to the goal. He doesn't know how to tell his teammate, hey, get out of my way. Let me have a dodge, right? It's not just me want goal. I'm going to the goal, right? It's the patience to get to the correct spot in the field, move your teammates out of in the correct position, and let's have a dodge. So I would say that patience and spacing is probably our biggest challenge.
And what about for the younger kids? I'd assume there's some different challenges that they find.
On the field lacrosse side of things, there's a lot less challenge. That's a double-edged sword. I mean, there's not challenge. They're good lacrosse players. They're playing. They're doing it well. I would say there's probably a similar aspect of, hey, this is weird. Those guys have long sticks. How do we get to the goal? How is this supposed to work, right? And kind of telling them it's a little more tactical. You have unlimited time to kind of figure it out. But, again, you're just trying to install – you can go to the goal whenever you want. There's no rush. But this is where we want to initiate our offense from this spot or the bottom. We're looking for feeds and big shots. Telling them how to initiate offense has probably been our bigger challenge, I would say.
And I'm curious, how much field and box do you do relatively? Like, how much of your coaching is in each of the disciplines?
So the youth kids, we really keep them inside the box just for fun sake and for numbers sake. We have 8 kids. We can't play a field lacrosse game, or we wouldn't be able to play a full field lacrosse game, and the ball's going out of bounds. And so our U11 program, our U10, 8s, whatever, they're inside the box at LCC at Radatine, and we have a game tomorrow.
We're all very jealous of that, by the way.
Yeah, you better be, because I'm thrilled about it. But today we had our men's field league. So I reffed 2 games and I coached one game this morning. Men's field is every Saturday for the next 4 or 5 Saturdays. But traditionally, the Czech box league is a little bit stronger than the Czech field league, just in terms of number of teams participating. Certainly, the competition level is a little higher in box lacrosse in Czech Republic, but it's a balance. It's a little bit of everything. I also help out with girls a little bit. The girls do play strictly field at this point in time. But the youth kids also play intercross. Intercross is played in the schools. So I tell people I'm a lacrosse guy. It doesn't matter what the stick looks like or what indoors or outdoors, or box or field. Like you gotta, or if you're gonna be over here in coaching, you need to be available to coach everything. Probably should be able to ref. It's just a little bit of everything.
And I mean, for anyone who's not familiar with lacrosse in Czech Republic. It's probably the only country other than Canada where box is the more prominent or predominant form of the game.
Serbia.
Serbia as well. Excellent point.
Serbia.
Excellent point.
Maybe Finland. I might put Finland in there as well. But regardless, there's not very many.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. We also have we've got another question relating to that, which is relating to the country thing, which is that you've taught in a lot of countries where lacrosse isn't widely recognized, either field or box. Are you responsible for recruiting players too, and how do you handle that side of things?
I love that question. There's a number of different ways to go about recruiting players. The guys in Bratislava like go out to the bars and they try to find guys, who've had a couple of beers. Hey, do you want to come play in our men's club? Obviously, recruiting children is a lot different. Every situation is different. In the Czech Republic, you have what's called a Sokol. Every town has their equivalent of a YMCA, and you kind of try and get the local kids. The municipalities are pretty small, so it's a limited number of people, but everyone congregates around the local YMCA, the local Sokol. LCC is a Sokolovna. Spraslav and Malachitze are all Sokolovnas. The Smikov team I'm doing we have networks. It's a community outreach, but other nations are a little different. The UK is almost strictly university. Japan is strictly university. Norway has close to 10,000 lacrosse players now, and they're pulling them out of university. The university at the age of 18, 19 is the first time you touch a lacrosse stick. And to Japan's credit, they're fantastic for touching a stick for the first time at 18 years old. It goes to show how much they put into their craft, but it's just widely different. There's and then Australia or Czech Republic, the United States and Canada, you're playing from the age of 5. You're playing because you're multi-generational. My dad played, my grandpa played, right? But that in the UK that's also true, but not to the extent of the US and Canada. That multi-generational, that obviously is going to take time. Perfect.
Tom Pryor from Ireland said, Brian, good luck with your game. Glad to see your program is safe and well. I think we're all glad to see that. And have you been to Ireland?
I have. I stayed at Mike Kennedy's house for about 6 hours one time. So I left the airport. Mike picked me up. He drove me back to the airport in the morning. I never saw the sun. I've never seen the sun in Ireland. That's what I like to say.
Okay.
I've had layovers there, but this year was going to be my first time in Ireland.
Yeah, it was exciting thinking about the U19s being in Ireland. Now the U20s next year will be there, but the game going to so many places. And just curious, we have any other questions? We got nothing up at the moment.
So I'll pitch Ireland for those guys. They actually spread, so they announced the dates and they backed up the now U20s into June, and the Euros, the men's senior Euros, are the last week of July. So it was going to be 20 straight days of championship lacrosse. And I was a little concerned because I have players on the U20 team. I also won on the men's team. So they've spread out those two tournaments by, there's probably 4 weeks in between them. There's almost the entire month of July between them, 1 week in June plus a week, minus a week in July. So you're going to have more time. And if you're thinking about going over to Ireland or Wrocław, Poland for the men's Euros, definitely plan on coming to Europe for some championship lacrosse next summer.
There's a lot obviously going on and things kind of stacking up a bit. I mean, like you said, the European Box Championship next year.
That got pushed back.
Did it? Is it 22 now?
Yep. So we'll use this platform to kind of talk about that. So that was supposed to be in 2021. Everything has been moved back except for the Women's World Championships, which is still happening next year in Towson, Maryland.
In Towson, right?
Yeah. So
World Games moved back with the Olympics moving, and so many domino effects.
Yeah, and there's a lot of speculation about when the 2022 men's world championships will be held. They did announce they're not going to be in Coquitlam. There's a lot of one rumor going around as to where they will be, but that's not been
a fairly obvious rumor, I think.
Yeah.
That was my immediate thought. I mean, as soon as I heard they're not going to be in Coquitlam, I thought, well, should we just say it? Well, we think. Nobody knows what's going to happen. I thought LA immediately.
LA is the very popular rumor, but that I'm just announcing that's a rumor. I would not try to say that it's going to be.
No,
anyway.
I wouldn't say it. I haven't heard it officially, but that literally was just me thinking, oh, Olympics, LA, we're trying to get into those. Obviously, we're going to go there. But
additionally, it has been speculated that will be in 2023 and not 2022 because of the World Games being backed up. And just a domino effect.
Yeah, still, which just shows there are still going to be repercussions from this COVID situation playing out
for years.
For years. Another question. How about teaching the history or origins of the game? Do you do a lot of that, or is it more straight to the skills?
So I'm from upstate New York. I did have the pleasure of playing against a lot of guys named Thompson, and I had, it was a very cool. I was in love with being in upstate New York and playing against Native Americans, the origin of the sport. And over here, I'm very much an advocate for making sure everyone knows where that this game comes from. Like, hey, this game, it's older than your country, or my country, I guess. It's not older than some of these countries over here. However, it's fun. Honestly, it's a lot. It's very attractive to a lot of kids over here. The Czech, specifically in the Czech Republic, there's a cultural infatuation with Native American culture. During the oppression of the communist era, everyone loved to go out in the woods, and they really idolized Native American culture and treating nature with respect. And that's actually how lacrosse began in the Czech Republic. They had a Boy Scout manual, and it said, "This is lacrosse. It's a Native American sport," and they're in love with Native American culture, so they made up their own version of the game. I do have a handmade wooden Czech lacrosse stick here. It's a one-handed type deal. And then when the Iron Curtain came up, a couple Canadian guys are like, "No, that's our sport, but you use two hands. It's a longer stick." So it's kind of a cool history. But yeah, I obviously a very big proponent of the Native American roots of the game, and just if you tell people, it definitely makes the sport a lot cooler than just to say, "Hey, this is a rich kid sport from the East Coast."
Yeah, seeing the evolution and the genesis of the sport. I guess the other way around, genesis and evolution. We can announce something in terms of lacrosse going forward. I just had it shared with me that the first iteration of the 6-on-6 small-sided rules, or as we tend to call them, the Olympic rules, because they're the rules World Lacrosse has been working on to prepare for Olympic inclusion, have been released to members to review and input and provide input. So the process is underway to have that game ready to roll. And I know there have been some examples of people trying it out. Denmark, the Fighting Pastries, tried out some of the small side rules. And there was the great the women's game with was it the WPLL versus the U.S. national team, I believe.
Yep.
Yeah, which was a lot of fun to watch. Almost difficult to watch, honestly. You can see they were trying it with the rules as they were the original Blue Skies group had put together, and it was so fast. It was, I felt bad for Tom and Amanda doing the commentary. As announcers, you're like, how do you, there's no time for replays, there's no time for analysis. It's just boom, goal, off they go. So I think there are going to be some tweaks, but it's pretty fascinating to see that process playing out.
So yeah, the MLL alumni game was played in the Olympic 6-on-6 format up in Lake Placid last year as well, and it was the same. Honestly, it was a little hard to watch. There's just too many goals. I really love a score of like 15-13, you know, a 10-8 game. That's a low scoring game for my book. I love 20 goals a game. And honestly, it's kind of hard for me to care when it's 26-24 or whatever that final was. It was somewhere up there. And you know, if you're talking about playing at the Olympic level, those are gonna be really good athletes, really good players. And I don't know if I really want to see that many goals. You know, you're taking away players, which kind of helps the offense. You know, it's a big goal. There's no long sticks. It's a shooter's game for sure. So we'll see how it comes out. You know, they didn't really do a summary. They just kind of said, this is the giant rule book, and it's not easy to read through a rule book. It's just kind of a data dump. So I haven't taken the time yet. I've had a busy weekend, actually enjoying the sport as few are able to. So I haven't really gone through the rule book yet, but we are planning on an Olympic sixes, a little something in the Czech Republic in the near future.
Very nice. And I'm that's all the questions that we have up. So unless you've got something else you want to add, we can kind of wind things up. But I just gotta say, I'm so sad that we weren't able to come to Prague this year. I've been to the last couple of Alice Rebeskis and E-Box tournaments, and they were fantastic. I was looking forward to the She-Box to see.
I was really looking forward to She-Box.
That was so exciting. Such
a
big
development. That would be great.
Yeah, and I mean the E-Box, I always love that tournament. And then the Rebeski is, for those of you who haven't been, I hadn't been for quite a while. I went a couple of years ago. Thanks largely to you. You just actually all started with the Facebook Messenger message saying, hey, any chance you'd be interested in possibly coming to Prague for a tournament if we can work it out? I was like, yeah, that'd be cool. And now I've been a couple of times, brought my lovely fiance last year, and she absolutely loved it. And anyone, if you get a chance to go to the Rebeski, go. It is, I didn't understand. People would explain how great it was to me before, and I didn't understand it. It really is kind of beyond what you can even imagine in terms of an event. As
far as the greatest, sporting events in our sport, I would say annually the Ali Herbeski and the Lake Placid Summit Classic in Lake Placid, New York. Those are the two best tournaments that happen annually in the world. I'm not a huge PLL MLL fan. Honestly, I don't care. The NCAA championship would probably be number 3, but that's behind. From strictly an experience standpoint, the Ali Herbeski Memorial and Lake Placid are the two best events on planet Earth. And I've been to all of them.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Laxnai as well. It's coming on, but it's 4 years old. It doesn't have the history and hasn't evolved to the point yet that the Rebeski has. I just wanted to give it a shout out because I wouldn't want it to be left out. I think it's a fantastic event, and it's stateside, so it is a little more accessible for some folks. But the Rebeski is. I don't think the Laxnai folks would mind that we say the Rebeski is what they're aiming to become.
Correct. You're aiming for the Herbeski culture at Laxnai. It's just how do you cultivate that inclusion, that one floor, that one group mentality, especially in a time where you don't really want that many people around. So we shall see.
We shall see. But I'm looking forward to getting back there and to getting back to lacrosse. It's going to be a while here in Ontario. We have no Canadian championships this year, and 3 of them were going to be in Ontario. One in St. Catharines, one in Brampton. The Minto Cup was going to be in St. Catharines, Founders Cup in Brampton, and the Man Cup would have been at the home of the MSL champion. So either one of the 6 teams in MSL. So it's going to be a challenging summer here. I'm very pleased that you guys are able to get the game going, and we're all going to be watching to see how and checking in to see how things come. So you have to keep us up to date.
Yep, they're going to be streaming the LCC home games are going to be streamed. I know that. I'm not sure additionally what's going to be streamed, but if I could just say to the people, enjoy the game. You can't have the sport right now. Sorry, it's unfortunate you can't have 10v10 field lacrosse. We didn't get a college season. You're not going to get the rest of your NLL. You're not going to get your PLLs, MLLs, whatever. You're not going to get your summer ball even. Just have a catch, screw around the stick in the backyard. Like really, go find a wall, go play fetch with your dog. Honestly, like just have a stick in your hand and it'll make you feel better. It kind of got me through the weeks where, the neighbor hates me now. I just pound the ball.
Now?
Yeah. Maybe more.
Yeah. I've been working on my wall stalls. I like going wall to wall on my stick and just seeing how many in a row I can get, stop it completely, not rolling in the back. I've got up to 7, which is, I know, nothing for the top players, but for me, it's a big step. So.
It's a long way down, right?
It's a long way down the ball. And once it slips, it's gone.
Yeah.
Anyway, thanks so much for being with us, Brian. Thank you to everyone who was watching, for everyone who wrote in. Thanks on the Q&A. You're welcome. We're thrilled to be bringing you all this, and it's great to have Brian on and have someone from across the pond on. I hope you're all enjoying it. Brian, anything to wrap up with?
No, just be safe, responsible, and honestly, the game will come back to you when we need it most. So it's on its way. Just take care of yourselves. Just take care of each other, and be good people.
Perfect. Thank you, and thank you all for being here. We'll see you all soon.
Thanks, Steve. Yep. Bye.